It was Lacey's turn to choose this week, and she chose 2002's Divine Secrets of the Ya-Ya Sisterhood. And this is a little picture directed by Callie Khouri and starring Sandra Bullock and Ellen Burstyn and Ashley Judd. Sizable hit back then, based on a huge best-selling novel. Lacey, what do you remember about it?
Tell me the year again. 2002?
2002.
Okay, I would have been graduating high school. Okay, I just remember it feeling like a more grown-up Notebook, the Notebook or whatever. It wasn't as, it felt not as...
Well, this came out about 2 years before the Notebook.
Well, then there's something else that's very much like it that made me think...
That's interesting.
This one's telling this story of better. It felt truer.
What, Now and Then?
No, it wasn't another Little Green Bean.
But there was like a contemporaneous movie that kind of had a very similar story.
You know what? I really could have just meshed this movie, but then there's a third, right? There's another one that's like old people, let's tell their story, falling in love and not in love movies.
The Notebook, Divine Secrets of the Ya-Ya. That's what this movie is about.
No, right.
Old people reliving their let me tell you a story.
There's another one.
Another one.
Because I remember being made fun of for being... It doesn't matter.
But I'd love to think of it.
I get attached to movies that I feel like are saying something about complicated parental relationships, or adults reckoning with what their childhood did to make them the way that they are, or I would have been attracted to the portrayal of a likable alcoholic parent who, well, not that I wouldn't say they're going for likable, but they show her charming parts too, and I guess I would have considered my dad to be a charming alcoholic that did great things and horrible things.
Oh.
In my memory. That's it. That would have, and I found it very rewatchable. There's nothing in it too hard to see, that I couldn't have seen it several times. So, and I did. I didn't obsessively watch it like a kid does, but I love Ashley Judd, and I really like Sandra Bullock. This isn't my favorite role for her, but
I'd say it's a little lazy.
I don't love her character at all, so we'll get to that, but rewatching it now, I totally understand why I ever liked it and watched it several times.
And why you got mad at me as I groaned during the movie.
I really
so felt like Steel Magnolias,
no.
Beaches, First Wives Club,
no, those are all too old.
Waiting to Exhale, Mystic Pizza, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
They would have had to happen after the Notebook for this to count.
After the Notebook.
Yes.
So Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants 05.
There's nothing to do. That has nothing
pants.
like... We're not looking for things with pants.
I just Googled if you like Divine Secrets of the Ya-Ya Sisterhood.
No, I thought you were trying to find what was like the Notebook.
Okay. If you like A Walk to Remember.
Ugh. I fucking hate that movie.
So like a Nicholas Sparks type.
Yes. They might have even also been, I don't know. Old people fuck.
Old people fuck.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's implied.
If you like the Notebook, you'll also like the Notebook. Okay, what?
The Notebook 2.
This article has the wrong headline. 11 movies like the Notebook.
The 3-ring binder.
The Best of Me. The Last Song. An Affair to... Fuck it. Okay.
It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter.
It really doesn't matter when you think about it.
But,
and I'm being an ageist. Just because it shows a relationship between the older man and woman, it doesn't have to mean that it's just like the Notebook. Even though, but the Notebook plays with time the way this movie does,
and it has that sort of conceit. So you've got written down homemade book that you have to look into for answers into your past, into who you are.
This is how we can really connect with our grandparents and parents. This is everything we needed to know. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it had that thing in it.
I knew nothing about this movie save for when my mother takes photos. She says, everyone say ya-ya. I think she was very, or she liked the book. My mom always sort of reads bestsellers, and this was a huge bestseller written by Rebecca Wells. I think it came out in 95, and this author wrote 3 books about the Ya-Ya Sisterhood.
Really? Did the movie combine them all, or? The
movie, I think, it shared the title of her second book, Divine Secrets, and it seems like it's mainly based on that book. And then she wrote another book after the movie.
Okay.
And then wrote one book that didn't have yayas in it. Yeah, I'm sure I read shitty reviews. Roger Ebert gave this movie 1.5 stars, so I'm sure I said that movie's bad. But I also remember seeing the trailer a lot where the women take off their shirts in the car. And I was
sex sells.
Selling on me. I want to go see that, but lie and say that I didn't.
What a cool thing to tell your friends. I saw the Ya-Ya Sisterhood last night. I saw their yayas.
Ask me anything.
It was divine.
Well, let's get right to it then.
Oh, okay.
This is a movie where it's set in the good old Southern fried South, except Sandra Bullock in this movie that is told in just the most choppy wraparound story that jumps back into time and then back into like a middle time, but then back into an earlier time and then back into the current time in a pretty unsuccessful way, I'd say. But opens first in the good old molasses swamps of Louisiana, and then morphs to New York in the modern day. And Sandra Bullock, who modern person left Louisiana behind for the big city, she's got a little something going on with her. What is it? And she gives an interview to a New Yorker writer where she says like something like not great but not horrible about her mom, right? What did she say?
That if it weren't for the abuse she suffered at her mother's hand, she wouldn't have anything to write about at all. So she owes her creativity to her. I don't know, she basically took all of the low things that she said and none of the high things and made it much more scathing than Sandra Bullock's character would have ever had the guts to say. So it ends up being like a plus that that writer took liberties, because if you notice, it goes from her saying that's not what I meant, or in not ever saying that to her mom, but saying nope, that's exactly what I meant. She shifts gears really fast.
Well, that's not a writer taking liberties. I mean, if you subject yourself to an interview, you know that all your words are going to be analyzed, and the writer isn't just going to transcribe everything you say. They're going to say, here's what I take away from this, and this is what I think about this person.
Okay, right.
And you can't say, I didn't say that, or like I didn't mean that.
I didn't, right. If you said those exact words and you weren't clear.
And then part of it is like other people are going to know you, or going to understand things about you that you yourself might not be able to articulate. And so the writer sees like, okay, this person is really traumatized by her upbringing and by her relationship with her mom.
Right.
And she would never want to openly acknowledge that to her mom.
So I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. She found the story in there and saved their relationship.
And her mom reads this, and boy, is she steamed, and she shouts a lot of colorful things. And then she's got her 3 friends, the Ya-Ya sisters, right? So we've got Maggie Smith, a British woman playing with a ridiculous Southern accent, is playing Caro, and we've got who else? We've got damn it, I don't know how to pronounce it. Flanagan, an Irish woman playing Teensy, and doing a very convincing Southern accent. And then I don't know who else we got.
Really an accent snob over there.
We got Duty, and we got Peachy, and and Krusty, and just these are the most colorful folk you ever did see. I
always did enjoy the Ya-Ya parts, except for like the ceremonial weird parts. I don't care about that.
You don't like
the appropriating of Native American and like
Haitian and voodoo and stuff. I thought that was cool. I was like, I want to hang out with these people.
Yeah.
But do you disagree with me that that's a misleading title to call it The Divine Secrets of the Ya-Ya Sisterhood?
I would have never thought about it, but then as soon as you said it, I'm like, oh, you're so fucking right. What if that was secrets, and how was any of that not just about the one person?
It's a story about a mother and a daughter. It's not at all about the sisterhood. Right.
It was about Vivian and her kids and her trauma but we could. So the movie was misleading if that's what you thought was going to happen, but we could assume that inside that book are more stories. It just didn't have anything to do with Sita. Sita being the daughter.
Oh, sure. This storybook is so deep. Who knows what you'd see?
It's just a fucking photo album.
Okay, but I'm
just saying, like, what's so mystical about it? I love when people who have a treasured object holding all their most treasured photos look at it and then get delightfully surprised. Oh my God, look at this picture. That's what they did the whole time. Oh, look at this, teensy.
Oh, mercy.
Probably looked at that last Thursday.
I know. You look at that every day.
You know what you look like in a bikini from 80 years ago.
I can't believe I looked like that.
Look at those thighs. Anyway.
I just get depressed if I see an older picture of me and I look better than I look now, which is all of them. Right? I'm not like, ooh, I was a fox.
Yeah, well,
I'm like, boy, I suck now.
I do wonder what that will feel like when it's decades removed from the photo, which it's already starting to be a decade or two.
That's
I look
true.
at that person and think, she was dumb. She didn't know anything.
That's true.
But look at that ass.
I am speaking with the privilege of young, and by young I put quotes around that. But when I'm in my 60s, I'm going to be mad that at 32 I said I was not young, I was old. But I feel fucking old.
Mm-hmm. So you're doing it wrong.
Well, you got your main characters. You got Vivi is portrayed by Ellen Burstyn in the modern story, and Ashley Judd in her younger years. Ashley Judd is excellent in this movie.
Yes.
Very, very good performance, and I feel like I know it's annoying when I tell you the movie, like, this is how the movie would be good. But if the movie just told her story straightforward and didn't have the modern thing, if it just told her story, like, in the present tense, in the 1960s, it would be a lot more interesting.
Okay, but I feel like this... Okay, so let's just set up the premise a little bit. So, Sandra Bullock is an up-and-coming playwright or whatever. She plans on getting married. This article comes out, and she's completely distressed that her mom is like disowning her, completely upset, mailing her pictures of her faces cut out of the family photos, and then to get her back.
Why would she be mad about that?
Right. So I mean, they have this bitter thing back and forth via the mail. And so then Sandra Bullock decides to send her a wedding invitation for Sandra Bullock's upcoming wedding, where the time and the place are cut out, like, I'm getting married and you're not invited. And that's it. That's all that can be that it's gone too far now.
And so it doesn't seem that serious. Can I ask, what do you think? Yeah, what was the relationship like before this movie starts?
Is it like, was like terms of endearment?
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Where they talk on the phone 3 times a day?
They probably often-ish, but probably very surface. Probably Sandra Bullock being very careful of her mom's feelings, but also being guarded of her own. She probably had a lot of boundaries with her, maybe didn't share a lot. I don't know. Or she went months without talking to her. I have no idea.
But their argument does seem kind of playful. Like, I'm really performatively mad, but, like, I'm going to not be mad soon. And if you and it doesn't take much for them to not be mad at each other, or, like...
It took a kidnapping and a roofie and then 3 days of book reading.
Her, unbeknownst to Ellen Burstyn, her Ya-Ya sisters, Duty and Cece and Effie, go up to New York and they're like, Sandra Bullock, you got to come down and make peace with Mama. And she's like, I'm not going to do that with my Mama.
Okay, you can't do that accent the whole time.
Sorry. She doesn't talk like that either. Anyway, she's a modern New York woman.
With a y'all. They just add the y'all, and that brings her right back to Louisiana.
Oh, but crucially, they all call each other bébé. French word for baby.
Yeah, they really fold a lot of French into this.
Which, I live in Louisiana, I've never heard a single person say that.
Okay, but they live in a more Cajun area. They clearly don't live
in the
near
Lafayette area.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe there's a whole lot more of the French Cajun.
Maybe there are. There were a lot of people who spoke French in Louisiana up until like a few decades ago, and there still are people, but it just seems like the writers, the makers of the movie, like got hooked on one little Louisiana expression, like bébé. Yeah. We'll always call each other bébé. It's very distracting.
It's very distracting.
I hate it. This is also when you see the place you live depicted, you're like, okay, this is all bullshit.
They have a fucking second line way out in the freaking sticks. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you have money, you can get a second line band to come out there.
But this is late in the movie when somebody gets married or something.
Well, this is when they forgive each other and shit. It's her birthday.
And there's a second line parade because this is Lafayette
in the country.
Yeah, this is 3 hours away from New Orleans, but they march on down to the quarter, basically.
Well, it's just the very idea that they take part in that part of the culture makes no sense to me. I feel like they're mushing two distinctive different areas and the kind of celebrating they do.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The adult Yayas try to persuade Sandra Bullock to make up with her mother. She says she's not. Her mother's so stubborn, and fuck her. Plus, also, I hate her.
No, she's got a play that she's about to.
And I'm very busy. She's a fucking successful playwright, and she doesn't have time to go fucking suck up to her mom in Louisiana. And this is all very reasonable. And so her mom's friends do the reasonable thing, and they drug and kidnap Sandra Bullock.
Right. She wakes up in a different state.
And she's like, what did y'all do to me? And they're like, oh, we're just a bunch of old ladies. Isn't this cute that we did this?
And if you want to get home, you're going to read that puffy fucking book right there with all the stickers.
And they're like, you can go home anytime you want, but why don't you just take a few days and get more in touch with your roots and your mama? And she calls up her fiance, and she's like, I've been drugged and kidnapped. And her fiance's like, oh, yeah, I helped. Isn't that sweet? This is crazy.
I know, this part really bothered you. We just needed to get her there.
You can make a movie where this happens, but it's
it needs to be more serious.
There seems to be no judgment on the part of, just no gravity to this. Like, even if she's not going to get, like, sexually abused or something. She's not date raped, but still, that's fucking traumatizing. No, to be kidnapped and taken away from your home against your will. Especially when you have stuff to do, like run a play.
I'm busy as fuck at work. If that happened to me, because my aunts wanted me to understand my dad a little better, I'd be like, what in the actual
you've never talked to them
doing? Yeah. Anyway, okay, it's a plot device. They get her where they got to get her.
Device.
They got to get her stuck.
My point is, I guess if you like this movie, you're going to find all of this charming, and I do not find any of this charming. I find it grating and aggravating.
All right.
Yes.
Strong words.
Strong words indeed from Matt. Well, what happens then?
Okay, so the whole premise is that if Sandra Bullock's character only knew all that was really happening through her childhood and why her mom made the decisions she did, well, then everything would be fine.
I guess.
I bought into this when I watched it. Like, yeah. But then you had me thinking immediately, like, yeah, but what does any of this fucking matter? Like, doesn't what matters what you remember? And what effect her psychosis and her issues had on you as a child? Does it really matter that I learn her?
Well, let's talk about her issues. So Ashley Judd is the younger Vivi, and she is the
mother of Sandra Bullock.
Yeah. And she's the leader of the Yayas, and she's like a very, popular, magnetic presence. Everybody says she's brilliant. She's going to go on to have a great career as a writer. It's a sort of nice touch. Unless I missed this, the movie doesn't hammer home that she never actually did get to go have her career as a writer. Instead, she just settled into the domestic life that was the destiny of any woman, basically.
Wait, are you saying they didn't do that? Because I think they made that pretty clear that she never went anywhere.
No, but there was never the scene where she's like, I wanted to have my chance and you took it from me. There's never that.
Yeah, there's like that light. There's not, there's a moment in the kitchen where she's cooking.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not big like that. It's not, she knows her desires to go do that, to go live that life, to make that bold choice, that all got squandered whenever she was traumatized by losing her true love.
And by having to just suppress all of her own needs and desires in service of a family and husband.
Well, wait, but okay, so let's say this. So she apparently was, just so magnetic and just the life of the party and so upbeat, even though she had a troubled home situation. And because she had fallen in love with the brother of one of the Ya-Ya sisters. So, and that was her true love, and then he goes off to war and he dies, and that's when everything takes a turn. That's when she marries the runner-up, and all of that stuff sets in. But I think the Ya-Ya bond, the fact that the sister was so distraught over the loss of her brother, they do have a throwaway line in there where they say that Vivi put on a strong face for, was it Teensy? What is her name?
It is Teensy.
They're all Teensy.
Foofy or
right. But she was never the same. So I mean, I'm sure she felt like she needed to stay close to home, at least staying with the Yayas for her only support and to support the one who lost her brother, blah, blah, blah. So
in that moment, there was no space for her own life because she had to support her friend whose brother had died.
And she was so distraught that she didn't have the energy or the courage to leave the only support she knows, which are her friends.
Yep. So she marries the guy.
Whatever.
She marries her husband as
some
one
guy.
does.
Some guy named Shep.
We all marry our husbands and wives.
So true.
And others. And has some kids. And you said psychosis. Does she have mental problems, or is it just that she's an alcoholic and the drugs they prescribe her to treat the alcoholism make her...
So it seems like she's a manic depressive or bipolar, perhaps. It seems like she has big waves of making poor decisions, or she was put on some pills that actually made her do psychotic things, but because of her traumatic past, the way that her mother treated her, the way that her father treated her, and then her true love dying, she's a PTSD at the very least, and so she's not an alcoholic is always the symptom, it's not the problem. So she's covering up a lot of depression and regrets and scary big feelings by drinking constantly.
But they also seems like part of what makes somebody say about a person, like, wow, you're really going to do great things. You just have such a zest for life, such an appetite, such a drive. Also, seem like there's some whether it's bipolar, manic depressive tendencies that go along with that.
Sure, I don't know.
Okay,
I have no idea. Because they were saying all that when she was young, and I don't know what to say there.
Great. Well, she is very depressed, gets sent to an institution. It's a, fairly routine story told from the present.
What are you talking about?
The story of what happens to Vivi.
After she beats the fuck out of her kids?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying all this.
You're kind of skipping a lot. She needs to go to a facility. She tried to just beat the shit out, clean her kids' souls with a whip. I don't know. All
right, let me give that the gravity and space.
Well, no, a lot of things happen. Like, they're trying to explain to Sandra Bullock's character, here's the part you experienced, here's what you didn't know about it.
But all I'm saying is that there are a million...
And she left them before then. She abandoned them for a couple of nights in a hotel and then came back.
To go basically just treat herself and do things only for herself, which are like she sleeps late in a hotel.
She planned on leaving for good, so she pawned her ring, and then after a couple nights at the hotel, she's like, what the hell am I doing? And she goes and buys her ring back.
Yeah. This is very I'm just saying this. The story we often condescend to the past when we write stories about the past, and there are a lot of stories written in modern day about housewives in the 40s, 50s, or 60s, and how suppressed they are, or how like the hero has a rich interior life that none of the other characters share, and I don't like how much we assume that all of the other people from the past were so emotionally empty.
Wait, who's assuming that?
Who's assuming that?
Yeah, what are you saying?
That this is a fairly run-of-the-mill depiction of a it's like Betty Draper does the exact same thing in Mad Men.
Wait, so what's not authentic about that?
What's not authentic?
Well, what's the problem with portraying in another time?
That I think it only shows Vivi as having sort of any interior life. You never experience the husband's interior life, or really anybody else's. And I'm only saying that we think of people from the past as not having deep emotional lives, when of course they did. They had lives as rich and deep as any life that's lived now. That's all I'm saying. I guess the point of the husband, too, is in the modern day, he's played by James Garner, a famous actor, and so he finally gets to reveal himself as having lived in the shadow of this very charismatic woman, except nothing really comes of that, he just says to her, to his modern day wife, "Oh, I love you and I'm grateful to just be in your presence."
I mean, he stays the same the entire time. He's just happy to be along for the ride.
Yeah.
And miserable because he always had something broken in him too. He was an alcoholic. I mean, every single person in this group of friends are severe alcoholics. They all have something going on with them, or else they wouldn't be friends and married to each other. Mm-hmm. I think they developed his. I mean, we can't develop every single character, or we'd have a 4-hour-long movie.
You could do it a little better than what they did. You can give him some sort of trait, some sort of characteristic.
But the whole vehicle was that they are telling secrets that the Ya-Yas knew. They're not going to know his secrets. They're not going to know what's going on in him except for what they could have witnessed with their own eyes. So
and they don't witness anything.
Huh?
And they don't witness
He's
anything.
in plenty of scenes, things that you could have seen with your eyes.
He doesn't do anything.
What are you talking? There's the whole dinner scene where she yells at him.
That's the one thing. That's his one scene.
I'm thinking. And
if you want to tell the story of this woman's life and why she ended up the way she did, I just would have liked to see more of that. It's very interesting that her husband he's not by the standards of the time, he's a perfectly fine husband and doesn't like physically abuse her or anything, but just by her not being in love with him is one of the just key things that sort of destroys him.
And that is a big issue of that time. Again, while you have so many discontent housewives, the pressure to marry, the pressure just to have kids and to have all the kids you get pregnant with, because that's what's going to, make you whole. And for someone like her, she probably never needed kids. Mm-hmm. That's just the loveless marriage is just one more thing she was expected to have, because it would never have occurred to anybody of that time, don't marry someone you don't love. It would be very foolish to not marry a person, because you need that support, you need that financial whatever, you need that beard. Like, she couldn't have been a single woman in the city. That would have never been okay with her parents. Mm-hmm. Her super Catholic mother who already hates her and thinks she's fucking her dad, and then her, they seem to financially support her. I don't think she had any options to go be something she wanted to be.
We should mention they're from very wealthy families all of them who have household staff, have servants, African American servants, and there's a very clumsy scene where, well, for one, they did not need that. There's a black man and woman who work for Ellen Burstyn who are around the whole movie. You don't learn anything about them except that they sure do love working for her, and she's been with her since she was a kid, and when she was a kid, some really evil kid called her the N-word, and then young Vivi stuck up for her, and we're like, oh, that's so nice. And then that's the end of the movie's depiction of racism or any sort of racial dynamics, other than when the I don't know her name. The Willetta, that's it. Tells young Vivi to basically fuck off because she's sad and misses her parents.
Right, I don't want to make your hot chocolate. That's not going to cheer me up, idiot. This is not what I do for fun.
Yeah, and she's off the clock at this point, so I don't need to go make hot chocolate for you. Yes, this is not exactly a great enlightened portrayal of racial dynamics, but that's not what the movie's going for. Yeah. But it still seems to win its points and wants you to look back at Vivian and be like, ooh, she's awesome. She's
less racist than that other guy.
She's a modern woman.
Right. I don't think they needed that white savior moment to say how complicated and long-standing Willetta's relationship is with Vivi. I mean, really, it seems beside the point. What are we doing here?
Yeah. It would be so suffocating to be this woman's child. Sandra Bullock definitely does feel suffocated by the Ya-Ya Sisterhood and how close they all are and how in each other's business they are.
And how supportive of their bad habits they all are and how they cover for each other. And I mean, they're all constantly drinking. So it's like there were no options to have a non-alcoholic parent. That just wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, this is funny. I just didn't really catch on to the drinking.
The drinking is in every single scene. It's at the beach. It's that random sleepover. It's in the kitchen. It's every party. I mean, they have a cigarette and a drink in the same exact hand, and they're trying to use a camera to capture a moment in addition to that. I think the only time they're not drinking is when they're all riding in an airplane for some fucking reason.
Well, that seems fun. I would ride in a biplane if it came to pick us up. That really does seem fun. They just buy tickets to go get ridden around in a biplane.
I would not do that.
it's, an interesting question to ask is if you're married to somebody and you're not the most important person in their life, or if you're somebody's kid, but they love their friends more than they love you, how would that feel? And that's what the movie is ultimately trying to grapple with. Don't think it grapples with it very well.
They touch on it.
They touch on it. I just don't really buy it because I don't think anyone in this movie is very good other than Ashley Judd, and I don't think it's very well directed to in love with the slow as molasses old South and how colorful all these characters are. And there's this fucking scene, like I wasn't liking the movie, and this movie's really long, and finally adult Sandra Bullock reunites with her dad, and I would like to play a clip because this is the point at which I was just...
She's going to say daddy too much and it's going to fucking...
It's not that. It's that everything they say is like, yo, Junebug. It's just a metaphor, and they just won't talk like real people.
But don't you think that's the point? That he was pretty emotionally absent, and all they have are their little nicknames for each other? They didn't have real emotional connection?
That's a generous reading of what is going on. I think it's more like, these people...
I think they do a good job of saying he does not have... All right, we're watching the scene.
Hey, Butterbean. Well, look at you. You look pretty good for hostage.
Yeah, well, my captors are humane. You look like you're holding up pretty well yourself.
Yeah. Well, another fine mess.
Yeah. I think the best lesson I ever learned from you was to lay low.
There you go.
What happened?
Security has been breached. Backups have been called in.
Every line written by a player.
Ya-Ya alert.
But the prisoner's been left unattended. You could bust me out.
I could. But then wherever we go, we'd still be there.
No escape.
More like Stockholm Syndrome.
That is you. What about me?
You'll end up as the leader.
The inmate takes over the asylum.
Yeah, it is very quippy.
Working harder working.
No, they're saying pretty profound things. They're just a little bit too cute.
Never mind.
I mean, they're saying a lot.
That's it. That's what I was just like, fuck you, I hate this.
They're not talking like real people. That is true. And you don't know how to turn on YouTube.
No, don't. Stop. All right, well... but Ashley Judd is wonderful, and I just threw the iPad down. Done with the iPad. That's what I do with my technology. Okay. You said during this that Ashley Judd is one of your favorite actresses.
Yeah, and then I wanted to back that up. Hold on.
And I was like, I didn't know that, but I love that opinion because I think Ashley Judd is wonderful, and her.
I know. There would have been Where the Heart Is, this movie, and then Bug would be the ones that stand out in my mind, and they all came out close-ish, and they all made an impact on me in different ways. Bug only saw one time, but it was fucking intense. Trying to find I feel like there's one I'm not thinking. Kiss the Girls, but that wasn't like a really great thriller.
But this is like Griffin Newman on Blank Check on the Blank Check podcast said she's one of the only actresses who you can say like there is a genre where the genre is this person's name. This is an Ashley Judd movie. Because in like the late 90s, there were just thrillers starring Ashley Judd. Kiss the Girls or Double Jeopardy or whatever.
Someone Like You. That would have been... I was hardcore into rom-coms, so yeah.
Where she plays Jane Goodall?
What?
Oh, good. She plays Jane Goodale. It's like, what is that? That's a biopic of Jane Goodall?
That's not how I remember it.
All right, but that's Divine Secrets of the Ya-Ya Sisterhood. I didn't like it. Lacey, what's your think? What's your think? What do you think?
I gave it way too much credit when I was younger, thinking, oh, that's a nice look at what those complicated relationships are like. But they leave it right there on the high point, like, okay, now, Mom, now I get you. Let's go have a good time at your birthday party. But it's like, yeah. But your relationship's still the fucking same. You still have that fucked up past, and you didn't get any therapy, and you're still gonna keep treating me the way that you treat me and freaking out over things that aren't my fucking fault. But what we've learned here is that the child, Sandra Bullock, is responsible for being okay with that. I, once again, have to grow up beyond my years and put push down my feelings, my needs to be maternally loved, and for a paternal figure to stand up for me and, have my back and all that shit. I just gotta, because of this book, now that I know how hard your life was, fuck how hard my life was.
I have to be the mother to my mother.
And will be. I now have to make sure that she gets to see me all the time and be a part of my life, and I got to be okay with her meddling because shit was rough.
Yeah, she's not happy in 2 years. 2 years after this movie, Sandra Bullock, she's miserable, hanging out with her mom all the time. We were talking about this after the movie. We had like a real emotional moment talking about our lives and childhoods and stuff where we're like, the problem with movies about parents and their children and also just about like romantic relationships is it's what you mostly do. How do you mostly act and how do you mostly treat people? And if your parents are mostly shitty to you, but you can like look back and say, oh, but one time we had this heart-to-heart where my dad told me what I really mean to him.
Okay.
I don't think that changes. That's not going to change how you feel. And when you're not going to be left, but movies have to be made up of those moments of revelation and
our memories are made up of those moments. I don't remember the mundane okay things. I remember the truly traumatic things, and I remember the exceptionally funny or meaningful things. All the other stuff in between is really what shaped how I feel and the kind of person I am. And that person is someone who's always waiting for the other shoe to drop, because you only get so many traumatic things you get to do to me at the hands of one person for me to forever be on edge around that person and to not trust them. And
that's why when Ellen Burstyn and Sandra Bullock have their heart-to-heart on the patio and like it seems like all is forgiven, and then Sandra Bullock now finally understands Ellen Burstyn, she's still for the rest of her life going to be waiting for her mom to be horrible to her again or to freak out on her. And that's not going to I don't think anything actually changes. But movies like this suggest, nope, from now on everything will be different.
Right, here's an ancient book full of all the things that fucked you up to this point. But it completely erased a month ago where your mom freaked the fuck out and didn't give you a chance to explain yourself over an article that praised you for your amazing fucking accomplishment. She made something that is 100% supposed to be about you and celebrate you into something about her. Okay, bye.
So that's that. That's that.
Okay.